President Biden and NATO allies met in Brussels today to reaffirm the alliance's solidarity in the face of the ongoing and brutal Russian invasion of Ukraine. Mr. Biden said the United States and NATO would respond if Russia uses weapons of mass destruction, a new and sobering warning of what is at stake as war engulfs Europe's largest nation. Meantime, Ukrainian forces push back against Russian forces throughout the country today. Jane Ferguson begins our reporting from the capital, Kyiv.
The Ukrainian military says the burning vessel in this video is a Russian ship struck by Ukrainian forces. It was docked in Berdyansk and can carry dozens of tanks, armored vehicles, and hundreds of troops. Another major loss adding to Russia's already steep logistical challenges. But last night, Moscow stepped up its assault further north on the suburbs of Kyiv. What looks like a shimmering firework in the night sky, actually the brutal incendiary weapon white phosphorus. It's typically used as a smokescreen, but can burn hot enough to melt flesh. In the south, Ukraine is trying to retake the city of Kherson and pushing Russia away from Mykolaiv. In the north, Ukrainian counteroffensives forestall an assault on the capital, a city many military analysts expected to fall within days of Russia's invasion. Now, 1 month into the conflict, the Ukrainian flag still flies in Kyiv, and her residents are adapting to wartime life. Some, like Andrei, pine for the past.
I feel hopelessness. One doesn't know what to do next, how to behave. I try to keep calm and only hope that everything will be over and all will be fine, as it was before.
But cafe owner Evgeny decided to not wait any longer to open his shop.
It was last Thursday or Friday that I understood that it's not a matter of 1 week or 2 weeks, perhaps not even a month. Relatives, family, the military needs this support.
More support is also needed on the humanitarian front. The United Nations says more than half of all Ukrainian children, some 4.3 million, have been displaced by the month-long war. To showcase unity against Russia, today in Brussels, a flurry of diplomacy. As President Biden and Western leaders attended a trio of emergency summits, including a meeting of NATO's North Atlantic Council.
We are determined to continue to impose costs on Russia to bring about the end of this brutal war.
NATO agreed to strengthen its Eastern European defenses. 4 new battle groups will go to Bulgaria, Romania, Hungary, and Slovakia, doubling NATO's presence. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg, whose term was extended today into late next year, also promised to help Ukraine prepare against potential attacks with weapons of mass destruction.
We see that Russia is trying to create some kind of pretext, accusing Ukraine, United States, NATO allies, for preparing to use chemical and biological weapons.
But citing a long list of weapons he says are vital for his country, including tanks and planes, President Volodymyr Zelensky called on allies to do more.
This morning, phosphorus bombs were used. Adults were killed again, and children were killed again. The alliance can still prevent the deaths of Ukrainians from Russian occupation by providing us with all the weapons we need.
Members of the G7, a group of the world's richest democratic nations, also met separately today to discuss sanctions evasion and how to further impair the Russian central bank. But at a meeting of European leaders, divisions remained over imposing an embargo on Russian gas and oil imports.
It would have a devastating impact on the European economy. I think this is not necessary.
Meanwhile, the U.S. imposed new sanctions on Russian elites, including 40 defense companies and half of Russia's legislature. President Biden also announced plans to accept 100,000 refugees and additional funding to help other countries with their migrant surges.
This is an international responsibility. The United States, as a leader, one of the leaders in the international community, has an obligation to be engaged and do all we can to ease the suffering and pain of innocent women and children and men, for that matter, throughout Ukraine, and those who have made it across the border.
He also pledged to respond if Putin attacked with chemical weapons.
We would respond. We would respond if he uses it. The nature of the response would depend on the nature of the use.
And Biden defended sanctions against charges that they're insufficient.
Sanctions never deter. The maintenance of sanctions the maintenance of sanctions, the increasing the pain. We will sustain what we're doing, not just next month, the following month, but for the remainder of this entire year. That's what will stop him.
As world leaders meet to discuss how to further punish Russia for its invasion of Ukraine, the war here enters its second month. Ukrainian forces continue to hold out in the face of overwhelming firepower from the Russian army, and in some places advance against it. But there is still a sense on the ground here that no matter how successful their defenses, this war will only really end when Putin decides. Judy?
Thank you, Jane, for your important reporting. Jane's reporting and our ongoing coverage of the war in Ukraine is supported by the Pulitzer Center.